Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce the driving force behind Next Level Results Accelerator, a dynamic 90-day one-on-one coaching program designed to help you go to the next level in your career and your life. With 18 years of unwavering commitment to empowering individuals to achieve their dreams, our guest today has honed her expertise in performance, tools, and practices. She spent 2 decades in corporate Australia and delivered over 200 workshops and countless hours of one-on-one coaching, firmly believing that the achievement of any kind of success is an inside job. On a mission to empower people just like you, her warm, thought-provoking style will reconnect you with your goals and aspirations. Her insights are powerful, and her approach is engaging, and her results are accelerated. I can tell you that because she's my coach too. She was the very first coach on the show. Sorry, bang. She was the very first guest on the show back in October 2023, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome her back. Get ready to be inspired, learn something new, and experience some unexpected aha moments. The woman that empowers you to win, encourages you to back yourself, Fuck. The woman that empowers you to win, encourages you to back yourself, be brave and be bold. High performance coach dedicated to your success, Karina Murphy. Welcome back to the show.
Yay!
It's been too long.
It's been a while.
You were our very first guest when we launched the podcast. I did a solo episode for episode number 1, but episode number 2 is you, Karina Murphy. So it's been way too long. I had to have you back on the show. And Rise and Thrivers, I continually use Karina for coaching because you get results when you have a coach backing you and on your side. So heaps on that later. But first question for you, Karina. What the fuck you been doing? Since we spoke last time, what new insights have you gained that have excited you to share with our listeners today?
Gee whiz. Well, it's been, a whole year and a bit, has it? Yeah. So insights, excited to share them. Look, there's lots, lots happens in a whole year in the life of a human, and excited to share. So, sometimes insights are confronting, and they're usually valuable to share. Excited to share them. I don't know about excited, but I'll share them because, as I said, sometimes they're a bit confronting to see. So loads and loads of insights. If I think about, for me personally, and the journey that I'm on and the, fulfilling on my own dream as somebody who's creating a life where my Savannah, who's my 13-year-old, schools from home, I work from home, and the idea is to then chase the sun, and that's the fulfilling on the big dream, and we can work in school from anywhere on the planet. That's the idea. So in terms of the fulfillment on that, I'm so excited to share that we're in our 2nd year of Savannah doing online school. She started this week. And the reason why that's exciting for me is because last year was like a test and an experiment, so Savannah was like, okay, Mum, I'll see how it goes. And we're now into the 2nd year, and she's committed, and we're in having the 2nd year. So, from a parent-child conversation, it's been tricky for me to navigate that, and while maintaining being the parent, giving Savannah the autonomy and space to make her own decisions while guiding her to stay in that space has been tricky for me to navigate because, my own humanity just wants her to do what I say.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So you are actively involved in homeschooling your wonderful daughter, Savannah, and you've got your coaching practice as well. So I would imagine it could be a challenge when you want to coach your daughter and use some of those amazing principles and things that you know that you're going to help, but you're dealing with your daughter, and I know how challenging that can be when you want to coach a family member and they don't necessarily have asked for it or want it.
That's right. And it is a practice. It's a experiment, as I mentioned before, in terms of that. But most of the time I will ask her and certainly won't. I mean, there'll be times where I'll give her coaching or guidance when she's not wanting it. And to navigate that's tricky sometimes. And I've got to keep reminding, in terms of insights, it's remembering, I'm the adult in the relationship. She doesn't have the experience to navigate all of this, and she can't see my full vision. I think that's one of the big things that I got last year is she can't see my vision, and nor should she. She's 13. She's kind of got no idea. But how can I do my best and work out ways to communicate with her so she kind of gets it to the level that she can get it on at 13? And it's been a dance. It's been tricky. It's been messy. And so, but the insight, I think fundamentally, now that I'm talking it out, is that to not give up and to keep going. And for me to keep going, okay, well, how else can I say this so this lands for my 13-year-old? Bearing in mind I've never had a 13-year-old before, so I'm no expert.
Yeah, there's no turning back now. But I'd imagine that you're doing that with your clients as well anyway. You're meeting them where they're at. You're working out the best way to communicate and do all the things. So what I'm hearing is that it does translate, and it's awesome that you're so highly trained so you can bring that to your relationship with your daughter.
And it's a very different relationship.
Yes.
So there's lots more emotional.
We come to you because we want the coaching. They're not doing
right.
that. Yeah.
There's a lot more emotional entanglement in that particular relationship with my 13-year-old.
Definitely.
And she's a child. So intellectually, from that mature perspective, concept perspective, she doesn't get it, and it's and at the same time too, as an adult parent, it's like this dance that I found of not going too far ahead, because sometimes she'll say to me, Mum, those things that you say to me, when you're coaching me, I don't understand those, so it's about not going too far ahead and then not undermining her as well, because in fact, sometimes I'm surprised at how some of the things that come out of her mouth, and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't realize she was that advanced.
Yeah.
So it's, it's lots of dancing in the conversation, John, and to keep going, not giving up. And I think really not thinking that I've got to have it all worked out, and we're in this together. It's a conversation.
Great. And last time you talked about coaching, and you put it in a really good way, because I think there's a lot of people out there that like the idea of having a coach. I mean, you just got to look at high performance teams, high performance individuals, sporting teams. They all have a coach or a mentor or some kind of relationship with someone that helps them be their best. And you've got a great analogy about the wine and it might not be the wine. I just see a bottle of wine when you tell me. But the label, can you go through that straight off the bat? Because I think that really explains well what a coach is all about. And I'd love our listeners to hear that.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think, and as I continue on in my journey of doing this full time and doing what I love full time, it absolutely rings true, a year later, John. We talked about, the label, and it's hard to see the label when you're inside the bottle. And so the coach is the person who stands outside the bottle and can see and hear what you can't see and hear. And so it's so important to have somebody like that. And the other thing that I want to say about that too, kind of expanding on that, is your friends, your partner, your family are often, as I mentioned before, in my relationship with Savannah, a little entangled. And so when you go to them sometimes, first of all, they're not skilled enough to hear and provide you with what's wanted and needed necessarily. And they'll be speaking to you, I guess, through their own filters and their own biases. That's not intentional. That's just humanity and people wanting the best for you. And there's kind of limitations when we do that potentially. Also, in your place of work, sometimes you probably experience this, John, and I certainly did when I was in corporate. And I had great relationships with my managers, and sometimes they didn't have the time or space for me to engage in the conversation and get what I wanted and needed at the time. So having a coach is someone who sits outside of all of that. And again, their number one job is they're employed to get you and help you to produce the things that you want. So that's what they do 24/7. They're there for you. So there's nothing in the way. There's no ulterior motives. All our time and attention is based inside of that particular relationships. So, as you know, I've got these things in my coaching program. It's called an SOS call. So when things turn to custard and the shit's hitting the fan, so to speak, excuse my French, my clients can ring me and go, ah, or if they want to make a decision and they're kind of, again, there's lots of noise, a bit messy, I'm the one that they can call and know that they can count on to provide that clarity and that space for them where they can talk through the situation, the circumstances. As I said, they get cleared and then they can move forward powerfully. They can count on me for doing that. Again, that's what the relationship is about. And they know that I'm always going to steer them back towards what it is that they want to accomplish in their life. And again, that's my job.
Really good way to put it. And listeners, I've experienced exactly what Karina is talking about with Karina because she's my coach. And it is absolute gold when you've got something happening in your life and you think, I would really like to bounce this off someone that is on the sidelines, cheering for me, understands my vision, understands my goals, has the training, tools, and background to be able to assist me without all that other listening. Like you were saying, there's some other people in your life that might listen to you a bit differently than what a coach will. And it makes such an absolute difference. Now, I know that not all coaches have this SOS call option, and you do. And I think that's one of the things that stands you out from the crowd. And it's so, so valuable. So well done. Good on you.
Yeah.
And
I put that in, John, because that was my experience, when I was in corporate and I needed to, if something wasn't quite going right, or I just, as you said, needed something to bounce, I didn't have someone I could ring. And I really wanted that. That's why I weaved it into the program, because I just know how important it is for people.
It's super important. And so I love how you do that and how you just explained a little bit about what coaching is and why it's different from just having a chat with one of your friends or family members or things like that. What are you seeing out there with your clients that are really making a difference with them? I know we're going to talk about the drama triangle shortly because that's one of my favorite ones and I want to touch on that. But it could be something like that. It could be some self-awareness that they've gained out of a conversation that they've had with you. You could have facilitated something or realized that there was a gap in there of self-awareness and you could bring that in. I'm just wondering, what are some of those things that you've noticed that's really made a difference to some of the people you're working with?
Yeah. Look, this is kind of pulling the curtain back on coaching. And, I'm one type of coach and I've had a lot of different training over the many years to, so I've got a fusion of different ways and things and how I approach my coaching. So the biggest difference that I make and is inside of a coaching conversation is mostly the level of listening that I bring. So my context for coaching is that my clients actually have all the answers.
Right.
Now, why do I say that? Is because in my experience and observation for myself, as someone who's also been a coachee and gotten a coach, as well as what I'm seeing with my clients, is that when someone provides what I call this kind of pristine, clean, clear listening, what we help to do is elicit, again, what's already inside somebody. And they're usually wanting some validation, maybe a little tweak in perspective. Maybe it's a little bit off depending on the experience that they've had. And usually the person already has this idea. And again, they're either too scared to express it, they're questioning or doubting it, depending on what's happened in their past. But usually if I bring that level of listening, and also from that place of they've already got the answers, I'm empowering them in the background, you could say. And so they're more likely in the conversations with me to bring all of this stuff up. And then because I back them and I'm clear about what it is they want, I'll again ask questions so that they can reconfirm for themselves whether what it is they're saying, wanting or doing or what's in the way is going to direct them to fulfill on what it is that they want.
Nice. And so that goes towards what we're saying in your introduction is that you believe that achievement and success is an inside job. Is that what you mean by that?
100%. Now, it doesn't mean that they'll always have all the answers. That's the majority of what it is that I do. And because of my background experience, so mostly I, coach professionals because I've been in that corporate space. So, I know how to navigate that space, so I can bring all of that experience to the table as well.
Mm.
And because of that, and where the acceleration comes from, we can cut through the noise, and I can, so it's a combination of coaching and mentoring.
Yep.
So there'll be specific things that my clients will ask me about, and then I'll give them things. So, and we'll check whether or not it aligns with them.
Yeah.
So they've got to be ready and at the right space to be for what it is that I'm giving them to land and feel authentic and aligned with what they're doing. And I think that's part of the skill of the coaching too, is that you want to be able to meet where somebody's at and give them what they need in that moment.
Yeah.
There's no point in me giving them advanced things if they're not ready there yet.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. It might be an inside job, but you are so crucial to that part of the process and relationship. So I don't want people to think, oh, it's just all the person and it doesn't have anything to do with you, because you are doing all the things. And I'll give you an example that you and I did, and this is an example to the listeners. I SOS emergency called you because I had a decision to make, and you asked me what my top 3 goals were that we'd already discussed, and I told you. And then you asked me, does this opportunity that you're looking at align with your mission and these 3 goals that you said that you wanted? And they didn't. And so it was easy. I went, okay, yeah, great. Thank you. I needed that check-in and that alignment. And then I declined that opportunity. But it was only through you asking me those questions and being clear. You're actually clearer about what I wanted to achieve than I was. And so you can say, yeah, it's an inside job. I could have, should have, did know that wasn't going to fulfill my goals or my mission. But at the same time, I needed a coach to bounce that off and to realign and to get clear about what I'm doing and what I need to do to achieve the goals that I want to achieve. So even though it was an inside job, I'd probably still be debating and wasting mental time on all of that had I not had that conversation with you. So this is a small example of how important it is to have a relationship like that with someone. But I don't, so what I'm trying to get at is, to me, it sounds like, and sorry if this sounds harsh, but I don't want that coaching role to be diminished by saying it's an inside job, because we can't do it by ourselves. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, great. And thank you for saying that. So maybe I didn't articulate myself well. Absolutely, it's an inside job. And back to the analogy, if you can't see the label when you're inside the bottle, and part of what you do, John, Rise and Thrive Conversations for Greatness, depending on what's happened in our lives, over the many years, we get conditioned and we forget how great we are. So part of my job is to remind people, so while it's an inside job, my job is I can see what's inside. Most of the time we can't see what's inside because, as I said, I'm on the outside of the bottle. And so to your point, while it's an inside job, again, my job is to remind you and see and hear for you in those moments that you can't see and hear for yourself.
Perfect.
Because you're in it, it's very noisy, there may be time constraints, time pressures, family pressures, all of that stuff going on. And that's one of the key reasons, as you said, to have a coach, because they can see through all the noise, all the ha, and get you back on track.
Wonderful. The other thing you've done with me in the past, which I think works really well, and I would have never known to do this had I not had Karina as a coach. I had a decision or a choice to make between 2 things, and you got me to get a coin out.
It's a good one, isn't it?
And heads was one particular part of the choice, tails was another. And you asked me to flip the coin, put it on my hand, but don't look at it. And then you asked me, what do you want it to be? And that was really powerful, right? Because it's like I had the answer. I knew what I wanted it to be. I was just in a dilemma. Now, can you say more about that exercise? Because it's really interesting. It's something that our listeners can do if they also have a choice to make between a couple of things.
Oh, I so love it. I actually did this with Savannah this morning.
Wow.
How funny. So the idea is, back to mostly we know, right? And we want some validation, permission, things like that, which is all fine. So get a coin, 50-cent coin, whatever coin that you have. You do heads and tails. So heads equals one scenario or one choice, and the opposite side is another choice. And so usually, and we flip the coin and we go heads or tails. And as John said, before you look at the coin, you want to get in touch with yourself and what it is you really wanted. Because sometimes secretly we go, oh, I really hope it's that one. And we don't say it out loud and we go, oh, heads, oh, but I really wanted the blah, blah, blah. So that, again, you're just tuning into and honoring what's already there for you. And sometimes as human beings, we want permission and validation from others versus being able to, which is why I say back yourself, being able to back yourself, and that is a practice. I don't know whether I explained that any better than you did, but
No, you totally did.
a better job.
And it's also good to go over it again because, sometimes we need to hear similar messages in different ways at different times by different people to really get it. So I don't mind that we kind of went over that twice kind of thing into how it works, because it gives you a moment in time to choose. So it's like, you don't need to think about it anymore. Here's your moment in time. And by the way, what do you really want it to be? Because like you just explained about that validation that we're looking for.
And I think the thing too, coming back to, backing yourself, and that really is a practice, and whether the choice is right or wrong, ultimately what you'll do is you'll learn something, and so one of the key things that I'm really in my coaching, one of my little secrets that I have in the background in terms of empowering people is really having people experience them backing themselves without having to go externally for the permission and validation. Because if we go externally sometimes with the people that we love and we don't get it, quite impactful.
Yeah, that's right. So you're looking for validation. You go to your husband, wife, partner, mum, dad, sister, brother, and you don't get it. And you're right. It can be devastating. You might have an idea. You might want to start a new business, and you go, I'm thinking about starting this business or something. And they're like, oh, I probably wouldn't do that if I was you. Or, well, why do you think you can do that? Or, oh, I know a friend of mine that did that once and it didn't work. So I don't know if that'd be for you. And you don't get that validation, and it's crushing, isn't it?
Totally crushing. And that's it, gone. It's all over before you've even started.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So going to someone that has that listening. So what's the, how can I say it? Or how can you say it really well about? So don't do that. Go to someone like you to get the.
Well, I was just thinking about as you're saying that. It's like, you wouldn't go to your friends if you've got a medical condition and ask their opinion. Necessarily if you've broken your arm, you wouldn't go, oh, do you reckon I should, It's, I don't know whether that's a great analogy, but, it's kind of like that. And I think if people are wanting to create something that's next level for themselves in their life, you really need to go to someone who's either done that, doing that, and at the same, or if not, ahead of where you are, so that you can get the right perspective and the right approach. Often our friends and family aren't doing that.
Yeah.
So when we go to them for our opinions, for their opinions, and we don't get it, I know we often get surprised, but we probably really shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? Surprised and upset with them. We're like, well, hang on. They're not in that space to be asking them those questions,
Yeah.
Kind of funny when we look
and
at
as much as you want their support, they might not even give it to you.
Correct.
Yeah. I got family members that don't listen to the podcast. I'm like, what the hell? Why wouldn't you do that?
That's right.
It's gold in this stuff. And plus, I'm your brother.
Right.
You should just do it because I'm your brother. It doesn't work like that. That's what we're saying. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then we get upset, which is even more madness,
It is madness. And it's not empowering, and it doesn't take you to where you want to go.
Correct. And then we get upset with them and, annoyed and on it, and the dream gets pushed to the side. And now we're on this whole other track of something else.
I think this is a really good transition into the drama triangle
Mm.
because I can hear a bit of that coming out. So, in that instance, where if I start thinking about, oh, I've found some family members aren't listening to the podcast, I'm a bit of a victim there, aren't I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the areas of the drama triangle, isn't it?
It is. It is.
All right, so I found this extremely empowering in my life. So get ready, listeners. This is going to rock your world. If you've heard about it before, it'll be a great reminder. If you have not heard about the drama triangle, listen closely and see how you can apply this in your life. And Karina Murphy, it's over to you.
Excellent. So this is a really great tool, and I've certainly simplified it to make it easy and practical for people to remember and put in play. So the drama triangle is a model that was created by a Dr. Stephen Cartman back in, I think it was 1969 or thereabout. He won some awards for this particular model in the work that he did, and he was in the field of transactional analysis. I think that's what it is. And so what he in his field of work, transactional analysis, he'd work with couples and people in conflict dynamics. And so he was seeing this kind of theme come through around the way that people would interact when there was conflict at play. And so then he created this model, which is, if you think about a inverted triangle like this, and there are, what he was saying, three roles that human beings tend to get into and play out when there's some kind of conflict at play. Again, we're thinking about mostly these unconscious, but he was seeing the theme and the pattern.
Yeah, so
And
that's interesting, right? Because they're mostly unconscious, and you're going to give us the gold so they become conscious so you can make a choice. Now, more about that in a sec, but yeah, please keep going.
yeah, beautiful. And it's great. It's great that you say that. So, part of, again, coaching and having a coach is that we want to bring the unconscious automatic to the forefront and acknowledged. And as soon as you acknowledge things, to your point, you've got some awareness of it, and so then you can do something, take some action. When it's unconscious and in the background, it's like you can't do anything with that. So that's part of the process of using the drama triangles to bring the unconscious, or what we call below the line unconscious, to above the line conscious. Yeah, another way of looking at that is the classic iceberg.
Yep.
Yeah, so you've got this little piece of iceberg at the top, but underneath is a massive iceberg, right? So we're looking at below the line unconscious, above the line conscious. So in the drama triangle, the three roles that Dr. Cartman identified or called them was the persecutor,
Mm-hmm.
the hero or the rescuer,
Yep.
and then the victim. So in that inverted triangle, you've got the persecutor, the hero or the rescuer, and then all roads lead to the bottom of the end of the triangle, which is the victim.
Oh, right. I'm glad you explained that because I didn't know what was so important about the inverted triangle. And for those who are watching us on YouTube, you can see Karina making the motions of the inverted triangle. If you are listening in your car, on the beach, in the bedroom, wherever you are, so it's the long piece across the top with the 2 points, and then that goes down almost like to an arrow point to the victim at the bottom.
Perfect.
Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. And if you think about, and the reason that we get into these three roles in the first place is there's usually a want or need that we have that either, again, is unconscious, and or we don't know how to express or ask for it. So when that's in play, and again, it happens so quickly and automatically and unconsciously, we'll usually play one of these three roles in order to get the thing that we want.
Right. So one of those three roles, that being the persecutor, the hero, or the victim, will play one of these roles to try and get what we want.
Correct.
Okay.
And as we'll discover, it's mostly not effective.
It's a good reason it's called the drama triangle, because there's a lot of drama, and I found upset around it, not just for the person caught in the drama triangle and being one of those roles, but everyone else around you as well.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's not our fault that we get caught in the drama triangle because we're surrounded by it.
Mm.
Like this model and those three roles that we play, because every story, cartoons, movies, if you start to look at them, you won't look at them the same again because they have those three roles or three characters throughout the story.
Yep.
And the other thing to know about the drama triangle is we will jump to play different roles depending on what's happening in the way that the conversation is going when we're trying to get our needs met.
So you might be the hero at one point in a conversation and then turn into the victim.
Yes. And or the persecutor.
Right.
Yes.
So it gets pretty complicated. I know you said it happens automatically, and this is a way of bringing that to the fore.
Yeah. And let me say this too. So what and this may be where you're going, is as each of those characters or roles, they have particular character traits. Yeah. So you can distinguish when you're in hero rescuer mode, persecutor mode, and victim mode. So there's things that people say and do, kind of like what it looks and sounds like and feels like, so that you can distinguish when you're playing that role. Otherwise, how do you know you're playing the role? Let me give you some examples. So if you're in the rescuer mode, which is where I used to be a lot in my early years.
Is that the hero? Is that like a hero?
Yes,
the
hero rescuer. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Exactly. So I'm going to just refer to my notes just to make sure that I give you all the goodness and juiciness because it's such a powerful model.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because I've been calling it the hero so far, and then we said the rescue, and I had a feeling that that's interchangeable for that area of the drama triangle.
Correct.
The hero trying to save the day, or you could be the rescuer trying to help.
Correct. Which is what heroes do, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's kind of one, and it's the same thing, just worded a little differently depending on what you like, how you like to play that particular role. If you can't see this for yourself, usually you'll have somebody like this in your life that you'll be able to go, oh yeah, I can see that, right? It's easier to see it in others than it is ourselves.
I'm married to a rescuer.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And so you'll know either for yourself or you'll see it in others, those people who always love to help. If somebody asks, they'll put their hand up straight away. I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. And usually, while that's wonderful, usually it'll be at the expense of their own work.
Right.
Or their own time or their own freedom. So usually if you stay in rescuer mode, at some point you'll become quite resentful.
That's a really interesting insight. I was going to say, generally, in terms of gender, men often get labelled as they just want to help. So I think someone can tell them a problem and they'll just want to help and try and propose a solution. So in that case, they'll be the hero or the rescuer. It's interesting what you just said, though, because that can be, in my words, a little bit taxing or draining or demanding. And eventually you might resent the fact that you are doing that.
Correct.
Well, or there's resentment if that is not accepted. If that, oh yeah,
that's the killer.
Oh, that's the killer. And then they're the victim. So they go from, I'm going to help you, and you go, no, thanks. And then they're like, oh, well, F you, I was trying to help you, mate.
That's right. Well, then you go into Persecutor first.
Oh, I'm going to stop talking so you can go through all that.
It's beautiful because the FU is Persecutor.
Yeah, right.
I know we haven't done that. And then you go into victim. So it's beautiful example of that. Yeah. So you'll be helpful. You want people to do what you say. And if they don't take your advice, then persecutor usually kicks in and or victim. Yeah. So the rescuer really is okay. And the rescuer also, again, because all this is unconscious, that's how they gain self-esteem, their value. Right. So that's why, again, they're in there to do that because it makes them feel good. They think that's how they're valued. Yeah.
And I want to make the point is there's nothing wrong with helping people, and especially if people want help. And I know you do that professionally and they're asking you. So there's no kind of drama triangle there situation going on. Because the point you often make to me when I'm talking to you is that there's nothing wrong and it's okay. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's no judgment, good, bad. It's just what we're dealing with or the way that it is right now.
Yeah. And it's really great that you say about the drama triangle in coaching. So part of my, obviously experience and skill and expertise is to make sure I don't get into the drama triangle with my clients. Yeah. So I have to be able to see what's at play, ensure that that's not happening over here with me. And in our particular one-on-one relationship, it usually doesn't happen. I don't think I've ever experienced drama triangle with a client, which is great. That tells me I'm doing my job well. Usually what I will do, though, is obviously see and hear it in their dynamics, and the relationships are important to them. And that's when we practice and have a look at the model so that they can get outside of the drama triangle.
Yeah, gotcha.
The other thing about the hero rescuer that doesn't work as well is that they enable people, especially victims. So people won't end up doing things that they can do because the hero rescuer comes in, it doesn't for them. So there's usually no growth and development for other people in the hero rescuer's life. Yep. So again, it's what you end up seeing. It's not long-term. There's no long-term effectiveness, fulfillment, or satisfaction when we play these roles. That's the other thing.
Gotcha.
Anything about that in terms of the rescuer hero? Have I covered everything? Is there anything else?
Yeah, no, I think you've explained it really well. Let's explore the other two characters in the drama triangle.
Beautiful. So on the opposite side of the inverted triangle is the persecutor or the bully. And they tend to have this blaming others, criticizing others, telling people about all of the problems without having any of the solutions, very harsh, very critical. They usually are quite dominating, put other people down. Me, I usually call people dickheads. So as soon as I say that and hear that coming out of my mouth, I know that I'm in persecutor mode. There's this kind of superiority that goes along with it, all of that stuff. So again, not particularly pleasant to be around for other people, and very rules orientated as well. Like, when the rules work for them, if they break the rules, it's okay. So it's not even Stevens as far as being in persecutor mode.
So they're pretty righteous is what I'm hearing.
Beautiful. Perfect word for persecutors.
Gotcha. I think we all know people like that. You've worked with some, or you've just experienced it because, like you were saying before, you can move around those roles individually depending on your circumstances and how you're feeling at the time. So no one is just a persecutor all the time or a hero all the time or a victim all the time. It just depends on the circumstances and so what's happening. So, and this causes some drama, and we're going to get to that in a minute. Just going through those roles at the moment. We've gone through the hero rescuer role, and we're going through the persecutor role. I think we might have finished the persecutor role. Is there anything you'd like to say about the persecutor?
Well, I think too, when you remember if, and people have this other, it's bullying, and people, when someone's bullying you or feeling like that experience, or you're trying to bully someone, usually again, you want to be reminded it's when we get into that space and we're not getting our needs met, and we're either in one of those spaces, it's due to a lack of our ability to be clear, first of all, and distinguish what it is we really need and want. So that clarity piece is missing, and that self-awareness piece. Then our ability to be able to communicate that. So it's a lack of skill and awareness usually that drives us into these roles. Does that make sense?
Definitely it does.
Yeah.
Because if you were able to communicate your wants in a way that was effective, then you would either get what you want or you'd understand why you can't, and there wouldn't be any drama associated with it.
Yeah, that's right. You'd just be able to ask.
Yeah. And so the thing is, this has been times that we've spoken. I said, I know I'm probably in the drama triangle. And you've said, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It just doesn't give you access to, what do you tell me? It doesn't give you access to what?
Whatever it is that you want or trying to get in that moment in time.
Yeah. And the power to get it.
Yes. Yeah. The power, the clarity. Oh, usually, it's like, oh, right. I just want that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, that's really good how you can cut through the noise sometimes and just say, you've said to me in the past, what is it that you want? And that's really important to get that, and especially for me, you, but for our listeners as well, because sometimes it's as simple as, asking yourself, what do I really want out of this? Do I want someone to understand how I'm feeling? Do I want them to maybe change something that they're doing? Do I just want to be heard? What is it that you want? It's a great question that cuts through all the crap.
Yeah. And even to the point too, if you can acknowledge for yourself, oh, I'm just wanting to be right now.
Yeah, that's
Even getting that, you can go, okay, great, perfect.
yeah.
And saying that, acknowledging that in the moment, which is all part of why we do this work and use these kinds of frameworks and tools, is to give you the space. As soon as you can acknowledge what's actually happening, most people, there's a sense of, okay, right.
Yeah.
And then you get space.
Yeah, that old saying, if you can name it, you can tame it.
Beautiful. It's perfect. And again, usually in drama, any drama triangle, the emotions are heightened. Everything's heightened.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh,
So
yeah. Yeah.
we want to tame it, bring it down, get back into a parasympathetic nervous system so that we're calm, and then make powerful decisions or choices from that space.
Yes.
Which is more aligned with who you are and what you want than in the drama triangle.
I love it. So we've done the Persecutor.
Yeah. And the other thing about the Persecutor too, when I'm doing drama triangle work with people and we get to see that they're in Persecutor, then they start persecuting themselves that they're in the drama triangle. So don't do that. It's more of the same. I'm in the bloody drama triangle, get the whip out. And then both of those roads, Persecutor, hero, rescuer, always lead to this experience of being a victim of our circumstances, people, or things.
Right.
So we have the experience of being at the effect of something, whether it's the weather, the boss, the traffic, our family. We have this experience of loss of power.
Yeah.
And the effect of being at the effect of life.
And that wraps up part 1 of our incredible conversation with the wonderful next level coach, Karina Murphy. We discussed everything from the power of coaching to the drama triangle and how you can start shifting your mindset and experiencing life differently. Karina has shared some fantastic insights on self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and how to take charge of your own transformation. But don't worry, this is not the end. In part 2, we start straight away with the victim part of the drama triangle. So we've only done the first 2 so far, the Persecutor and the hero rescuer, which all leads to the victim. So we will complete that triangle, and that will allow you to make even more empowered choices. The other thing is, Karina at the end of part 2 gives the most generous offer ever, exclusive to Rise and Thrive listeners. You won't want to miss this. She is going to give away coaching sessions for people that are interested in having a coach, don't know where to start, always wanted one, not quite sure what to do. This is a risk-free way of engaging one of the best coaches in Australia, if not the world, totally risk-free. Anyway, that's in next week's episodes. We've got to wait a whole week for that. Be sure to join us. We'll continue this powerful conversation. Thanks for listening. And remember, as Karina would say, it's all about backing yourself and choosing a better experience. And as I would say, love you long time. Life happens between your ears. Stay awesome. And stay tuned for part 2.